This video is being sponsored by Book of the Month. Hello, cozy friends. Today I will be sharing with you my reading wrap-up / recent reads for the past couple of months. Hi friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. I am actually feeling so cozy right now. I've just poured myself a very hot cup of tea and it has just started to rain. I actually just filmed an entirely different video and it just recently started to storm, and there's something about the rain that just makes everything feel so much more cold and cozy to me. I think this is going to be the perfect time to share with you all of the books that I've recently read. Grab yourself something cozy and warm and we will go ahead and dive right in. Oh wait, but before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Book of the Month. So what exactly is Book of the Month? Well, I'm glad you asked. Book of the Month is a fast-growing book subscription service. Their professional team of researchers and readers actually vets hundreds of different books and selects popular new releases that you can choose from and get sent right to your door. It's basically every book lover's dream. Their genres are really great too. I feel like they have a really wide range, from thrillers to fantasy to adult mystery, contemporary romance, and even some YA as well. I'm a huge fan of their service. I could not recommend them more, and I just love them so much. So let me go ahead and show you this month's selections. First is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. When a serial killer emerges with an eerie family pattern, Chloe Davis wonders if she's really escaped her past. Next up is Somebody's Daughter, a memoir by Ashley C. Ford. A moving coming-of-age memoir about the complications of family provides ample testament to the resilience of love. Next up is The Holiday Swap, which is a romance by Maggie Knox. Tis the season for hijinks. Twins who could both use a reset decide to revive their childhood habit and swap places. And this is my personal pick of the month. I feel like a holiday romance is exactly what the doctor ordered. Next up is A History of Wild Places, and this is by Shay Earnshaw. A memorizing tale about the search for a missing woman last seen going into an isolated forest town with some secrets. Next up is Olga Dies Dreaming by Xochitl Gonzalez. I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I have zero confidence that I've said that right. I'm really sorry. I tried. I did look up Google Translate, which is where I'm getting Xochitl, but I know that's wrong. Two siblings vie for the American dream until Hurricane Maria drags their estranged mother back into their lives. Book of the Month also has an incredible feature where if you are not vibing with any of the books that month, you can actually choose to do one of two things. You can decide to skip that month at no charge at all, or you can decide to choose one of their backlist titles. If you're anything like me and you actually want multiple books sent to you, they've got you covered and you can actually do add-ons as well. This month, the add-on that they sent me is by John Greed, and it is called The Anthropocene Reviewed. And for the month of December, Book of the Month is actually doing one of their best deals ever. So if you are a person who has been wanting to try Book of the Month for a while, highly recommend that you do it now, because if you use the code JOLLY for the entire month of December, you can get your very first book box with a brand new hardcover fiction for only $5. I've literally never heard of a deal that good before. Most of these books, when they're new in the store, run between $30 and $45 for a brand new one, at least like where I live. And so $5 for one of them, I think, is just such a good deal. Highly recommend checking them out. All of the links will be down in the description along with the code JOLLY. And I think that's it. So without further ado, let's get on to the recent reads and wrap up. So I have 7 books to share with you today. I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with the very first book that I finished, which was The Inheritance Games, and that is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a YA contemporary, and I would categorize this also as a thriller or a mystery, but definitely more leaning on the mystery aspect rather than a thriller aspect. This book is following Avery, and Avery is a teenager who's really struggling financially in life. She doesn't have a mom, and she lives with her stepsister who is trying her best to take care of her, but she has like an abusive boyfriend basically, and Avery ends up living in her car essentially. She She's a very, very smart student, but she's very, very broke, and she's trying to save up for college when one day she mysteriously gets called into her principal's office, and she's basically summoned because she is in the will of a billionaire who she has never met before. And so she's really, really confused, but she is flown out to Texas to meet this billionaire's family. And she's not expecting to get any money or like a lot of money, but it turns out that she is now a billionaire herself. His entire family has been cut out. And now if she wants to claim the money, she has to stay in his mansion with the jaded family for 1 full year, or she cannot claim this $1 billion. The billionaire himself actually loved to play games. And so there's like a whole game room and there's all of these different riddles. And throughout the book, Avery is trying to figure out why she was left the money when he did not know who she was at all. I definitely feel like if I had read this as a teenager, this would have probably been one of my favorite books of all time. I definitely think it's worth like a 5 out of 5 stars. I think that this would translate as an excellent movie as well. And I feel like a lot of teenagers who read this are really, really going to love the romance aspect of this book as well. However, I am not a teenager anymore, and so there was a couple of things that I didn't enjoy quite as much about the book. The first is that I didn't realize how romance heavy this book is because it didn't really say that there was going to be a lot of romance on the back of this book. So I was going into this expecting like a traditional mystery or thriller, but I personally feel like it was way more of a romance, and I think that's a good thing because I think like if I was 17 to, I don't know, like 19 or something, I think I actually would have been way more interested in a romance plot heavy book just because that's what I was really, really interested in at the time. It was like when I was first starting to date. So it's not a criticism of the book at all, but I just didn't know that was basically like the main premise. I really thought it was going to be more of like a scavenger hunt, more of like dirty tricks being played. And I really didn't get that as much at all. I really felt like it was mostly a romance actually. And I have to tell you, like, I did not ship Avery with either of the two people. There's like a love triangle, and like I just didn't like either of the guys enough to ship Avery with them, and I felt like there wasn't a lot of chemistry. I also feel like Avery doesn't have a lot, right? She's literally living in her car and she has had to support herself basically her entire life because her mom tried her best, but you know, like her mom isn't really in the picture. And so I just feel like I thought Avery would be a little bit more invested in the riddles and also in learning why like she was left all this money, but I really genuinely thought most of the time she was concerned with like which brother liked her and like how she felt about both of them. I was a little bit disappointed, I think, in Avery and a little bit disappointed in the romance, but I think that's because I went into this book with different expectations. I would say without a doubt that if you are a young adult, if you are a teenager and you are looking for like your next obsession, I really honestly believe I would have been obsessed with this when I was 17 or 18. Pick up the book though if you are interested in like a love triangle, if you're interested more in like a really cute romance. Those things I think you will find in the book a little bit more than the thriller mystery aspect, but I did still really enjoy that aspect as well. Next up we have The Ex-Hex, and this is by Erin Sterling, and this is a book that is an adult romance. The entire premise essentially is following Vivian Jones, who is a witch in this small town, and the town actually gave me like a lot of Stars Hollows vibes, so if you love the Gilmore Girls, you actually might enjoy a lot of the vibes that are surrounding this town. And Vivian had a really, really big crush on a person named Reese, who was a guy whose family basically like founded this magical university in Vivian's town. And when they were really young, they dated for like 3 months, and then Reese told her that he was actually betrothed and had to leave, and Vivian got really, really upset, and kind of like in a hasty moment, she put a curse on him, but it wasn't like a serious curse. Like she used Bath and Body Works candles, and she was drunk when she did it, and so she didn't really think anything was gonna happen. But then 9 years later when Reese comes back, it turns out that he is really, really cursed, and she has to work with him to reverse this curse. I think that this book had a lot of really interesting aspects. First of all, I think that this would translate really, really great as a Hallmark movie. If any producers are looking for like the next big rom-com, I feel like this actually would be a really, really fun one to watch. I enjoyed a lot of things about this. I enjoyed the town, I enjoyed Vivian Reese's family, and I actually really liked Reese a lot, and I liked the magic system in this a lot too. I really liked the university. I don't know, there's a lot in here that I did really enjoy. But I was really frustrated with Vivian for like most of the book. First of all, it seems like she is still kind of obsessed with Reese and he is kind of obsessed with her. And like, I understand. I've definitely had that feeling where I see somebody and I immediately get butterflies for them. And there's just certain people you connect with over others where it's like unexplainable and you wish that you could reason with like why you like them more quickly than somebody else, but like some people you just have really great chemistry with, right? So like I understand that to a point, but they haven't seen each other for 9 years and they only dated for 3 months. It seems kind of hard for me to believe that both of them have just been thinking about each other nonstop for 9 years and like neither of them bothered to call the other or try anything. I don't know. It just, I don't know. So that part I didn't like love as much. And then also I feel like Vivian gets kind of mad at Reese for things that I don't think she should get mad at him at. Personally, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the arguments in this could have just been solved by like basic communication skills. I'm not a very confrontational person, but I mean, even if I was, I feel like Vivian, I don't know, was like making a lot of problems where there weren't really problems. So I didn't really ship them as much, which is important for a romance. But I would say that I did enjoy my read. I don't really know what I would rate this, but I'm glad I read it. Probably around a 3.5 stars though. The next book I read actually ended up being one of my favorite books of the entire month, but also I think it's probably going to make my list for favorite books of the year, and that is The Witch Haven. And this is by Sasha Payton Smith. This is an easy 5 out of 5 stars. If you are a person who loves dark academia, if you are a person who loves like magical schools, if you are a person who loves secret societies, this is your and this is also my okay? Like, I'm obsessed with this book. This particular book is following Frances, who is a seamstress in New York, I think Manhattan, in the early 1900s, when one day her boss tries to sexually assault her and he ends up totally dead on the floor with a pair of Frances's sewing shears sticking into his neck.
Good for her.
But Frances swears that she didn't do it and she has no idea how that happened. The next day she is whisked away by mysterious nuns who are telling her that they need to take her to a sanatorium. However, the sanatorium happens to be a magical school for witches. It is absolutely wonderful. There is so much plot and so much world building in this. There are so many wonderful friendships. It's spooky, like the vibes are so good. It reminded me a lot of A Great and Terrible Beauty actually by Libba Bray, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't think it was totally perfect, but I do think that it does deserve the full 5 stars because it was just so engaging. The plot moved really fast, the concepts were really fantastic, and I absolutely fell in love with the characters. Also, there is romance in this book, and I did thoroughly enjoy the chemistry and romance in this particular one, so if you're looking for like a really good, possibly love triangle, I actually think this one does a really good job. And then the last book that I read for the month of October was actually The Ravens, and this is by Cass Morgan and by Danielle Page. And I read this one because I heard about it from Liv from Olivia Reads a Latte's channel, and I'm so glad I picked it up because this is another book that is probably worth like a 5 out of 5 stars. I think I gave it a 4.5 stars, but it's just so good. We're following 2 different perspectives in this particular book. The first one is from a girl named Vivi who is going to this university for a first time, and it is a Southern university where she has a full ride scholarship, and she is rushing a sorority because she feels like she just kind of belongs there. The second one is from a girl named Scarlett who is trying to be the president of that said sorority, and these girls have a little bit of like a rivalry turned friendship in the book. It's all about both of them in the sorority, and the sorority happens to actually be a secret coven of witches who are recruiting women who have magical abilities and they just don't know it yet. I loved the plot in this. There's a little bit of a mystery, there's a big twist, and I didn't really see the twist until just before the end. I thought that it was really interesting, really fast paced, and I just loved learning all about this sorority. I also really liked all of the relationships in this, like especially the romantic ones. I was really shipping a couple of different people, and I thought it was really good. And finally, we have November's reads. I've only read 3 books for the month of November, and you've actually seen reading vlogs for all 3 of these books. Basically, all I did was read middle grade. I did start Anna Karenina, however, I'm not including that because I didn't finish that book, so these are the books that I ended up reading. The first one is Keeper of the Lost Cities, and this is by Shannon Messenger, and this was a 5 out of 5 star book. I feel like I got really lucky this month because, you guys, I have so many 5 stars and so many books that are now all-time favorites from the last 2 months, and I'm just really, really happy about it. So this particular book is about a girl named Sophie, and Sophie is a telepath. She can actually read people's minds, and she feels very, very different and outcast from both her family and all of the people at her high school. She's 12, but she's a senior in high school because she's just so incredibly intelligent, and she feels very, very lonely. But one day she meets a mysterious boy named Fitz, and Fitz takes her to discover a brand new world of magic that she did not know existed, and Sophie learns that she's actually an elf. It's really interesting. The plot is so fast-paced. It went in directions I did not see, but there are so many things about this book that were just so magical. There's like a magical school in here. There are all of these wonderful characters. There's an incredible world building development. I think that Shannon Messenger just like killed. She nailed it. It's so good. Like, I feel like if you're just hearing the synopsis, it doesn't really do it justice. There's something magical about this story that really grips your attention and makes you fall in love with every single character and the world. I would also say that some of the best characters I've ever read are in this book. I was so invested in so many different relationships in this book that Sophie was having with friends and with potential crushes and with, you know, her family, and it was just something that I could not put down. I have so many theories as to where this story is gonna go, and I've just decided to read one of the books every single month until I'm through with the series because I'm literally obsessed. The next book is The Girl Who Sailed the Stars, and this is by Matilda Woods. This book is about a little girl named Uwana, and Uwana belongs to a family that isn't very nice to her. And I have to tell you, it's really refreshing to read protagonists who live in families where like the mom or the dad is a little bit toxic, because that is something that does happen in a lot of families, and I think it needs to be represented in children's literature so that if a kid comes from a family where they don't feel loved or wanted, they can see that there are happy endings from that, you know what I mean? This is about Uwana, and Uwana's father was really disappointed with her because he really wanted a boy, and he's a bit of a jerk, and that's putting it nicely. I was not a fan of her mom or her dad, but he is the captain of a ship, and she desperately wants to be on his ship. She wants to learn how to sail by the stars. She wants to navigate. She wants to go out to sea. And so she decides to sneak aboard his ship when he goes out to, I think, capture a whale. It is such a beautiful story about Uwana trying to find her place and learning to love herself and learning that her family is just mean and there's nothing wrong with her. It's about her really discovering like the magic in herself and at sea. And it is one of the most atmospheric and perfect books to read during this time of year. Like, it was cold and icy and snowy. The entire book takes place in this very atmospheric place in the north where there's lots of snow and ice, and all of her tales at sea were so wonderful. Like, this is the perfect book to curl up with by a fireplace, in my opinion. I just loved every single second of it. I will also say that this really felt reminiscent of a fairy tale. Like, it felt like somebody was telling me the story, and I really, really enjoyed a lot of other elements in this book as well. For example, I really enjoyed the narrative style, I enjoyed the illustrations in this book, and I really, really enjoyed a lot of the humor in this as well. One of the best middle grades I've ever read. Highly, highly recommended. Easy 5 stars. And then finally, the last book that I read during the month of November is A Boy Called Christmas, and this is by Matt Haig. I read this book actually because Netflix reached out and they very kindly invited me to preview the movie, which is now on Netflix, and the movie is the same name, A Boy Called Christmas, and I loved watching it so very much. You can actually see my vlog where I read all 3 of these books and then I watch the movie, and the movie totally broke me. I was sobbing, I was laughing, I thought it was wonderful. And I gave both the book and the movie, again, a 5 out of of 5 stars. It's weird because I never give this many 5 stars out. I just got really, really lucky for the past couple of months, and I really, really loved this book. So this particular book is following a boy named Nicholas, who is called Christmas, and Nicholas's father goes missing on an expedition, and Nicholas decides to try to find him. He believes that his father has traveled to a magical place called Elfhelm, where there are all of these magical elves, and he is determined to find this place. Along the way, he befriends a reindeer, and he has his best friend Mika, who's a little mouse, to guide him with his little journey. It's just a very, very cute tale. It's full of magic and whimsy and adventure, and Matt Haig's sense of humor is wonderful, but also it's interesting because I loved Matt Haig's book, The Midnight Library, and I feel like the reason I liked it is because it was super, super positive and optimistic and had a lot of really, really great messages in it that I really connected to. And I feel like this is kind of like the kids' version of that. There were so many positive messages about like believing in the impossible and that anything can happen, and to believe in yourself and to keep going when things get rough. And it just felt like literally the kids' version of The Midnight Library, and I loved it so much. If you are looking for a very lighthearted read, I could not recommend this more. It's quirky, it's cute, it's whimsical, it's super unique, but also it was really positive, and I really, really enjoyed reading it. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for my wrap up. I didn't read a lot, but what I did read, I ended up loving, as you can tell. But I would love to hear from you guys. What was your most recent 5-star read? Please let me know down below in the comments. And the emoji for today is going to be a cozy cup of coffee. I'm gonna pretend it's actually tea in that cup emoji because that is what I'm currently drinking. But yeah. Also, again, thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and all of their information will be down below if you would like to check them out and check out their code for that really, really great deal on a first book box. I hope all of you are having a lovely and cozy December and a very cozy Vlogmas, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!
Hey, Santa, the city is covered in snow tonight. Where did my love go? Santa, I'm waiting for him, but he's